fascinating what they have become.
We all have ambitious goals, but how far would you go to achieve yours? Would you manipulate those closest to you? Would you go as far as to murder? One man did. William Afton, the infamous purple guy, a father, an inventor, a killer, a man so obsessed with the thought of escaping death. My name is Mrs. UFO. I am a Twitch streamer and a FNAF Explained enthusiast, and here I will talk about how William Afton lost everything, including his humanity, all in the name of immortality.
It is not your flesh that sustains me. It is your fear.
Before the horrors, before the hauntings, and the quirky animatronics that we all know and love, there was Fazbear's Family Diner, the first creation of William Afton and his best friend, Henry and Emily. William handled the engineering, while Henry brought life and creativity to their diner. It all seemed innocent at first, with our golden and iconic first two animatronics, Freddy and Spring Bonnie. They were both hybrid animatronics, spring-lock suits if I might say, meaning employees had the option to either wear the suits and roam around the establishment, or allow the animatronics to roam on their own. But behind the cheerful music, Freddy's diner took a dark turn for the worst. William's youngest child, who we know as the crying child, was fatally injured by a cruel prank that his oldest brother Michael Afton and his friends had pulled, placing the crying child into the mouth of Fredbear in the name of giving him a kiss. Whether it was a mechanical malfunction or just a cruel prank, the damage was already done. Crying child succumbed to his injuries in the loss of his frontal lobe. Of course, the establishment had to be shut down due to lawsuits and rumors. Due to this business being shut down, both men were devastated. But Afton had other ideas. Instead of devastation, this pushed them further. Soon both men opened a new establishment, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where William took the life of his first and very personal victim, his very own best friend, daughter, Charlie and Emily. During this time, Charlie and Emily was locked outside the establishment by a group of kids. William, seeing this as an opportunity, kills Charlie in a nearby alleyway, and where the security puppet tries to protect her, but ultimately it was already too late. Now you're probably asking, why did he do it? I believe it's because of grief, maybe envy, and maybe this man is just mad. Or all of the above. Afton just lost one of his children, and in some twisted fashion, he wanted Henry to feel the same pain as him. This theory aligns with psychological research as one of the most profound traumatic experiences one can endure. This complicated blend of grief and envy reflects emotional patterns commonly seen in those coping with loss, particularly when those around them have what they lost. In contrast, Henry mourned in silence. It's possible that he had entered a stage of denial about Afton's involvement of Charlie's death. Nobody wants to believe that their best friend killed their only child, right? This denial is one of the few stages of grief and is likely used as a defense mechanism. Over time, Henry's guilt and inability to protect Charlie led him to create his very own suicide bot, which is a chilling testament of his despair. Henry's final message to Charlie reveals his sorrow and his attempt of closure, with his words and Henry putting the souls of not only Charlie but other children to rest.
And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears.
This is a way of Henry not only honoring those children, but also giving them a sense of peace, even though he couldn't do it when they were physically here. William, on the other hand, he changed. He studied death, as if it's a puzzle that he could solve. And so, as we all know, the killings continued. The animatronics were not just for fun anymore, but they were like vessels, cages even. Afton believed if he can bind these souls to the animatronics, then he can conquer death. Unlike traditional views of immortality, Five Nights at Freddy's takes a darker and deeper turn in events. As we all know, immortality is the pursuit of endless life, and it has intrigued humanity for years. For many cultures, immortality is not just a desire for eternal life, but it raises deeper questions of life's purpose. For example, in ancient Egypt, immortality wasn't just a fantasy to them. It was a goal achieved by spiritual rituals, such as mummification. Pharaohs were to believe to transcend through death and journey to the afterlife by preserving their bodies, a bridge between humanity and the divine, offering peace and a long-lasting legacy was beyond death. But of course, this is William Afton we're talking about. There has nothing to do with anything spiritual related. Rather to just beat death and say, I did it. William Afton's psychological descent didn't just suddenly crash down. It was gradual. It's quiet. Afton believes every step was necessary, justifiable even. It's for science, for a purpose only he could understand. By the time the world recognized the monster Afton had become, it was already too late. William Afton displays disturbing psychological traits that closely align to personality disorders. The most notable is his lack of empathy. In several in-game mini-games, Afton is always smiling during his violent acts, suggesting that not only does he lack empathy, but he also has a sadistic nature to himself and a satisfaction of what he's done. This behavior aligns with narcissistic personality disorder, which is characterized by the inflated sense of self-importance and disregards for others' emotions. In Afton's case, this narcissism is fueled by his obsessiveness with immortality, driving his willingness to harm others for his own personal gain. Because how intense Afton's fixation is with immortality, we can say that he resembles symptoms of OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder. OCD is defined as the neuropsychiatric disorder marked by persistent obsessions and compulsions. Afton's refusal to accept death is inevitable, combined with his increasingly extreme experiments, reflects an obsessive mindset that consumes his every decision. Additionally, Afton exhibits signs of delusional thinking, particularly a rare psychological condition called zoanthropy. Some analysis suggests William believed himself to be the animatronic's brain body, referring to himself as plural, mimicking the mechanical movements of the suit. This identity collapse shows a psychological break where Afton can no longer distinguish himself from his human form and the form that he claims to be. Another major part of William's personality is his ability to manipulate anyone and anything. Despite the number of disappearances, William manages to not only avoid lawsuits or public suspicion, but also jail time. Due to this, William was not only able to just open an establishment himself, but to also create his own business, Afton Robotics, where we have new and improved shiny animatronics, and inside those friendly and shiny animatronics were claws and traps. Animatronics such as Funtime Freddy and Circuit's Baby were not only built for entertainment, but they were also traps for children. I guess you could say they were literally friendly looking killing machines. The key to all this? Remnant, a mysterious and glowy substance tied to life, memory, and undeath. What if I told you in the sister location, the scooper room, and the machine, the scooper, had a remnant injection in it, which explains why Michael Afton survived being scooped by Ennard, and later Ennard entering his body to replace his internal organs. William, in all of his life forms, endures a cycle of death and rebirth because of his endless obsession. Afton's version of immortality isn't peaceful. It is more grotesque and unnatural, of seeking immortality driven by fear and control, rather than having a spiritual purpose like those in ancient Egypt. Unlike the pharaohs, Afton is now recognized as a symbol of the dangers facing immortality and ignoring the natural cycle of life and death. In the final climax of Five Freddy 6 Pizzeria Simulator, as the fire spreads, Henry directs his last and final message to his old pal.
The darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
And that should be the end of everything. The fire burns down the building, Michael and the spirits all die. What if I told you even William broke that boundary? And this time he reincarnates as who we all know as Scraptrap. William Afton's character symbolizes the characteristic of deceitfulness, malice, and even corruption. Serves a visual metaphor of how his body not only deteriorates, but also for his psychological decay. In the end, we're all left to wonder, how far will somebody go to escape death, and at what point do they stop becoming human? This is William Afton, and always remember,
I always come back.